Sean, Penrith, Bronxville. Films and other Since around the time of Avengers Endgame release, I've heard people watching the MCU chronological order. Maybe they watch the films and other various Marvel projects, not in a release order, but instead in order of when each project is set
I guess
within
we'll
the
find our own
universe.
way to Oscorp
For
then.
example, this means they start
Won't
with
be easy
Captain
with
America,
this
the
mess
First
they
Avenger,
left
instead of
behind.
Iron Man 1. Because Captain America is set in the 1940s and Iron Man is in 2008, meaning that Captain America comes first in chronological order, despite the fact that it was released 3 years after Iron Man 1. And frankly, I think this chronological method is a stupid way to experience the MCU for the first time. Though, if not experiencing it for the first time,
I'm sure they
many of
won't
the
mind if we
points
trash the
making
place
this
a little
video
more.
don't apply. So enjoy your media however you like to enjoy your media.
Look around.
So,
There might be
maybe
targets in
targets
the area you
is
can use.
First time
Hey,
in
grab me a
Hollywood.
chicken
Don't
Alfredo
let
while you're over there, huh?
YouTubers stop you.
Sure.
Bless
You want me to
Your
pick up your
progress.
dry cleaning too?
Writers often use non-linear storytelling as a narrative device to enrich their storytelling and enable plot twists and resonant moments that might not be possible otherwise. For a famous example of this, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey just released. Very good film, by the way. And that movie uses non-linear storytelling to enhance the satisfaction the audience garners from reveals and character moments that occur in the third act of the film. Nolan is a very prominent director known for his non-linear storytelling in films like Oppenheimer, Interstellar, and Inception. Now, imagine if Nolan structured Inception, for instance, as a linear story. We already know why Don Todd's dead wife, Mal, keeps appearing in the mazes and haunts the main cast. We already know about Todd's tragic backstory with his wife before we ever saw him pull a job. The film would lose so much narrative tension if the story was told like this, because the answers would come before the questions, which is a large part of what makes Inception so interesting. But enough of using this video as a Trojan horse, get it, to discuss Nolan's filmography.
Another day, another cleanup.
Let's get into the MCU. Even though the MCU has a whole suite of different directors instead of one centralized visionary like Christopher Nolan, the MCU also benefits from its non-linear narrative structure. Granted, the MCU's non-linear structure is external instead of Inception's internal, but the point still applies. And to repeat this non-linear structure totally
try not to
wrecks how
destroy
the
everything in
storytellers
sight
of the
in pursuit
MCU
of justice.
intended their story to be experienced. And you, as an audience member, also
Looks like
miss
that
out on
booth
parts of
scans
this
for
experience
employees.
too. Whether you're experiencing
Shouldn't be a
MCU
problem for you, right?
or chronological order, you're still going to start somewhere in Phase 1 of the MCU. And the release order of Phase 1 includes 2 Iron Man movies, a Hulk movie, a Thor movie, a Captain America movie, and finally the first Avengers movie. Phase 1 is very focused on setting up these central characters and the foundations of their
Within the
decade-long
Oscorp building's
arcs,
high security
which are
perimeter,
capitalized in the
Norman
first Avengers
Osborn's
movie,
labs
and then
undertake
further
secretive
explored in later
research
installments of
into
the MCU.
radical new chemical and
When you
genetic
watch the MCU in
technologies.
chronological order, you completely annihilate that narrative focus and cohesion by throwing in stuff like Agent Carter, Captain Marvel, and a funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer,
What took you
Marvel
so
One
long?
Shot. Hey, Editing West here. Yeah, apparently the funny thing happens on the way to Thor's hammer actually is in Phase 1 in release order, so my bad. Anyways, it still stands. For now, though, I'll focus on Captain Marvel as a microcosm for the issues I'm discussing, though I believe their presence in every phase of the MCU would be this way. I actually think
Yes,
Captain
you
Marvel is an
shouldn't have.
incredibly overhated film, but it still feels weird to club Phase 3 movie from between Infinity War and Endgame, only to place it in between Captain America the First Avenger and Iron Man 1 makes sense. Like, yes, the film does take place in the 90s, which is between Captain America's setting and Iron Man's setting, but the tone and objective of the film is entirely
green
different from
goblin?
the otherwise consistent tone
Don't
and
worry,
objective
the
of
goblin
Phase
will
1.
be waiting for
Which
us.
is, of course,
Proceed
to
with
establish
caution.
the
We
MCU's
need to
main
find him
players
and
and the
that
foundations
cosmic
for their
brick.
parts. Not to mention that Captain Marvel is a character that you won't see again until Avengers Endgame, which is even further away from Phase 1 in chronological order than it is in release order. Good luck remembering who Carol Danvers is 57 MCU projects later. Yes, I count them. There are also story aspects inside the Captain Marvel movie that hit differently, and in my opinion worse, when it's tossed into Phase 1 of the MCU. If watching in chronological order, you've seen Nick Fury for less than 5 minutes. Why the hell would you care about a young Nick Fury at this point, or care about what happened to his career? It's not built up at all because we haven't experienced Nick Fury as a normal character yet. There's no novelty or appeal here. It makes it so that he's just like a guy, like Captain Marvel. In a similar vein, Captain Marvel draws on adjacent knowledge of stuff related to the cosmic side of Marvel, like Ronin, all of which he would know nothing about if watching Captain Marvel in Phase 1. Similarly, Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, and Thor do lots of heavy lifting in the world building department by stringing together a cohesive world for the remainder of the MCU to unfold. And Captain Marvel's space works to unravel this relation. And a film like this, in my opinion, only fits into the MCU's identity after the Guardians of the Galaxy and the cosmic side of the MCU have been at least somewhat established. Granted, I know 4-1 also takes place in space, but that film is largely anchored to New Mexico and Jane Foster, which keeps it grounded and tonally consistent with the rest of Phase 1. But this specific point might be more of a nitpick than anything, so let's move on. When I was originally conceptualizing this video, I was going to talk about Steve, Tony's character arcs, and how chronological order detracts focus away from their individual arcs, which are low-key the main through line of the entire Infinity Saga, by the way. But when I researched it noticed.
Alert. Security breach detected. Emergency protocols engaged.
That's not good.
The biggest criticisms of the Marvels is that it's loaded feature film shows and projects, most of which debut on Disney Plus. And just
Need a lift,
relevant to the main story and story.
Caution. Possible laboratory break-in confirmed by big explosion. Please direct your panic-stricken running to the nearest exit.
Regarded as a money
Attacked with an elevator? That's wrong on so many levels.
This time, the MCU was a little more than an ambitious experiment trying to accomplish something that had never been created in cinema before. They couldn't afford to not focus on the foundations. But when you watch the MCU in chronological order, all that bloat gets injected into Phase 1 and the entire Infinity Saga. A significant portion of it was created and released after Avengers Endgame. And this blow does take attention and time away from the main characters of the Infinity Saga and their arcs, which are a lot harder to appreciate when you're forcing yourself to watch, I don't know, Marvel Runaways, Cloak and Dagger between major story beats. As I mentioned before, Steve Stone where Cosmo Troopers released in the face of the US Army S.H.I.E.L.D. and finally his friends, along with Tony's dynamic arc, where he learned sacrifice in scaling ways, are the narrative through lines of the Infinity Saga.
Give up the cosmic jerk, Goblin. Game's over.
No, it's just begun,
Brilliance
Web Ray.
these arcs in
Catch
novel
me
and
if you
experience the
can.
MCU in chronological order, which detracts from them from the projected flow and altered narrative timing. The MCU uses non-linear storytelling to enhance moments and to highlight arcs.
Spider sense is tingling.
Misquote that the MCU in chronological order instead. I only really discussed Phase 1 in this video, but I think that's a good microcosm to illustrate what I'm talking about. Which is why I think chronological order is the worst way to experience the
Cameras are
MCU
triggering the
for the
laser.
first time.
There must be a way
Anyway,
to get past.
I'm a YouTuber, so you probably know what I want. Do the like, comment, subscribe things if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Agent Barton reporting.
Have you seen Moneyball? It's a really excellent sports movie from 2011, chronicling the story of how Billy B, the general manager for the Oakland A's, transformed to baseball. At the start of the film, the team is in the losers. They just lost the 2001 seasonal division to the Yankees, and were in the process of losing 3 star players. With their limited budget, the team was no longer competitively viable. And there's been comedic
Wow. Getting a visitor pass around here is
the team
grueling.
could no longer win against the odds stacked against them. So they decided that in order to win,
This
he had to
stinks.
change the odds.
Goblin and the
The help
cosmic
of Peter
brick will have
Brandt,
to
a
wait.
25-year-old
You
yellow
get
at
out.
his graduation, he came up with a completely new method of player assessment, nicknamed Moneyball. disregarding all other methods of player worth, being mainly focused on one statistic while building his new team. What do you like? With this team of misfit yet consistent players, the open days over the 2002 season would go up to win 20 consecutive wins, the longest win streak in baseball history. Despite all their flaws, their consistent on-base percentage led them to order. While they didn't win that year's World Series, they did succeed at changing the game. And where baseball has only been as it kept fighting. The goal of adapting to market elements
Spidey
was
sense.
the big
Something
split.
close by.
Flaggy installed a similar philosophy while building his dream team. It doesn't matter who the baseball plot. It doesn't matter if the stars are A-listers. And it doesn't matter if it's the directors who's actually while other franchises looked to the heavens for crash turned, those was weakly consistent, operate solid films that audiences can unwind and relax with. Like the 2002 opening
Oh,
baseball
great.
season,
Looks
the
just like
first phase of
symbiote
Marvels
goo.
is a miracle of strategy and circumstance. Throughout this phase, they score base hit after base hit. Iron Man 4, Captain America. Now that the case is promoted, the Avengers, the big team of film in development for 4 years, was on deck. Avengers walks up to the plate. The Avengers was a hit. It was a hit unlike anything the industry has seen. And not only was it a hit, people loved it. They loved this world and these characters, and they wanted to see more. And so, we did. Year after year, 2 to 3 times each, they'd come back for that war with Marvel consistency. The more times they got on base, the more we grew to trust them. We knew that we had to see all of them to catch all the Easter eggs, to see how our favorite characters would interact when they finally crossed paths, and to see where this big grand story was headed. And there was an endpoint it was heading to, as the self-promoted Infinity Saga came to a close with the release of Avengers Endgame, where we got a fitting conclusion to the characters that made us fall in love with this world in the first place. There were other home runs before Endgame, but the way that film did when it did, well, it was one of my favorite movie-going experiences of all time. It's truly a movie built by the ones before it, a story that stands on its own yet warns the points of the hits and even misses that came before. It's the movie that finally fulfilled the mission statement laid out by Iron Man, all those years ago. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies, hands down, and despite some loose ends, could easily serve as the ending to this entire universe. And in many ways, it was. I mean, it was immediately followed up by a mediocre Spider-Man movie. After that, the future of Marvel, for the first time, was uncertain. And right when this new phase was about to get started, what happened? And our world kinda went to shit, which meant no Marvel for over a year. Well, some escapism would have certainly helped during this time. That break from Marvel really cemented how impactful an ending Endgame was. What more do you need to tell when you've finally said goodbye?
Open sesame.
What happened here? The whole lab's been abandoned.
It turns out, hold on. If the last phase of Marvel was all about building to one big illusion, this condensed 4th phase has taken the exact opposite approach, using the grand climax as a jumping-off point to branch off into countless unforeseen directions. Whereas Marvel in the past would balance new projects with returning franchises, Phase 4 was an onslaught of new faces, new places, and when we do get familiar characters, we see them in unfamiliar environments or are using them to set up these set new faces. It's the 4-year trial and error process of Phase 1, granted
The
to
power's
2
out. We can
relentless
find a power
years.
generator. We should be
Now
able
that
to
we're
get it back
finishing
online.
Marvel's most exhaustive phase ever, I thought it would be important to assess how this new direction has been going so far, and to highlight the shortcomings of these directions, in the hopes that Marvel will tell the best versions of these stories they can. Before I begin, I do want to preface that I still very much enjoy the MCU. Each of these productions have been fun, and entertaining, and for the most part proved to be worth their time. However, I would be lying if I said that I am as enthusiastic for this phase of Marvel projects as I was in the past with the Infinity Saga, and I do think that with this new direction, part of the magic that defined Marvel Studios has been lost in the process. This is not a review of each MCU production in Phase 4, but instead a review of how they all come together to form a larger cohesive story. A critique of how Marvel maintains a universe. This is the post-Endgame problem. One of the defining elements of the Infinity Saga was, of course, the Infinity Stones, the universe-shaping MacGuffins that drove 90% of the conflict from the first Avenger all the way through Endgame. While heavily criticized as the film continues due to their repetitive nature, I do believe that these films centering around the stones helped shape and define what the MCU is today. It made it so that even though these characters had yet to cross paths, they were all still part of the same battle, making their inevitable crossovers not only organic, but necessary. The Infinity Stones were the glue that held all these stories together, leading to the surprising interaction and growth that would become the MCU's greatest asset. So with the Infinity Stones now dealt with, in turn their timelines never be meddled with again, what has become of the glue that brings all these storylines and these characters together? Is it
Coming out of the
in
wall!
the struggle of rebuilding fallen societies? Maybe it's the introduction of the Celestials and the collective oversight they have over the Spheres. Is it the branching timelines created by Endgame and the chaotic worlds of the multiverse? Or is it the... You get it. It's all the above. For the first time in the MCU, it really feels as though these characters are on their own separate worlds on trajectories that don't overlap. The issues that Sam, Wanda, and Clint deal with on Earth don't seem to tie into the galactic states of the Eternals or the time that each entity is floating. This, of course, apparently is my criticism. In fact, I would say the biggest strength of Phase 4 so far is the sheer diversity of stories being told. For casual viewers not strictly following along, Phase 4 has taken on a trail-mix approach. With such a variety of tastes, we can now pick and choose the stories we want to follow. The skin individuality comes at a price. A price I imagine would be very problematic going forward, and that's the lack of cohesion. For instance, I enjoyed the characters in Shang-Chi and Eternals, but I can't imagine them teaming up for a shared adventure anytime soon. They both seem to be on connected paths, wrestling with their own demons, with no care for what the other is going through. The magic of Marvel isn't just these characters on their own, it's also how they come together. Marvel really hit their stride when they started mixing and matching the heroes in their solo projects. Created Black Widow, Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok. Civil War works as a standalone character and an Avengers film at the same time. It's clear to me that these characters were best when they're together. It wasn't just that these characters interacted, but that the consequences of each character's storyline led into the greater narrative. The destruction of S.H.I.E.L.D. and exposing of Hydra and Winter Soldier established the stakes for Age of Ultron. The end dates to Ragnarok and Black Panther set the stage for Infinity War. And pretty much all of Phase 3 was a response to the events of Civil War. Overlapping storylines building on each other's narratives are what made Marvel a universe. But in the era of the multiverse, it seems this
like the source of
technique
the
is being
problem.
abandoned. Eternals ends with the biggest stakes event in this universe, stand for Infinity War. The entire world is destroyed, and at the end, a giant fucking celestial comes right up to Earth to threaten the planet. This is a universe-altering moment, and yet we only see it from the Eternals' perspective, because this conflict only concerns them. Everyone else only needs to deal with the conflicts in their own narratives. The films and shows try to connect the stories, but they only manage to do so through name drops and quick cameos. In almost every subsequent release, Steve Rogers and Tony Stark and Colorado have their absence mentioned.
Flame scared him off.
But instead of making the universe feel connected, it only goes to highlight how much we miss anchor characters like those two, and how lost the MCU can feel without them.
You know, for a totally
This
legitimate...
all
And
leads to one
unsuspicious
big
office
question.
tower. This place
Where
is
is this all heading?
surprisingly disgusting.
That's a question necessary
said
for
it.
all stories, as we want to know whether our 2 hours or 8 episodes of investment be worth the payoff. If these stories aren't building to some big grand conclusion, maybe they're just telling their own self-contained stories like the vast majority of films and television we see. In which case, great. However, just like every other film or television show, these stories need to lead to their own satisfying conclusions, and no charts that incentivizes to look back. And, yeah.
Rejector! You brought along a few friends for us to play with.
There's this moment in two-thirds of the film adaptation where Charlie Kaufman is seeking advice on how to finish his script from Robert McKee. You know, the dude that every USA references. Anyway, that kind of advice after Kaufman's Kaufman to finish his script is to nail the third act. The first case of films is a testing experience. As one large story, it is perfect. There were some major stumbles in the setup beats. They brought us to the end, and that's what matters. Not only do I believe this advice, but I believe the inverse is true. Stumble at the third act, kill enough of rising promise of the story. And when it comes to baseball stories so far, nearly every single one of them has turned out promising with an interesting film. Or to trip and things plans with the way at the finish line, pull back on outdated tropes, Marvel should be far away from the television stuff saying as it knows things like this storytelling.
We're going to play you to laugh.
Final two episodes of Zolzwanda of Allblood, which falls into a generic CGI approach. Like people start to encourage and focus on attaching to the violence, fast, and taking into account actions. And then it's a final battle where everyone goes to make the fight, and none of the characters actually face any consequences. Shang-Chi went through such a compelling conflict with Sean and Wendell, the final battle centered on the light and broad ways to move on from tragedy. And that throws all the work over the window to battle a giant dragon. I believe
Emergency containment measures for super toxic
especially on the
symbiote
television front,
activated.
Marvel has run climaxes in space. These big climaxes are a reflection of the Marvel team not quite adapted to the constraints of episodic storytelling, as these shows feel like 2-hour movies stretched into 4-hour series. Not only do they lack the depth and self-contained adventures one gets from a serialized story, they also miss out on the finality and catharsis of this story. What this is that pretty much all of these shows find one show is going 6 feet underground, and that's the surprise villain. Surprise villains are what will do what actually result in meaningful conflict or dynamic between the main villain. I would give them passive characters as kids do be taught not to trust every person they see. These reveals do not come with any catharsis for their heroes. In WandaVision's case, it exists to take away responsibility for Wanda's actions. It's also worth noting that in every story gets a surprise villain. It's no longer a surprise, envisioning us to see this coming. The main reason these villains are potentially celebrates is because these finales do not work the end in their stories. These are important antagonists that comic fans know all too well, and will surely have long-lasting effects on the MCU. If anything, their surprise entrance is more an introduction for them into this world as a whole. During the show's they debut, their point at the end is supposed to be as fresh as possible in the viewer's mind.
Something close by.
Their introduction to themselves to begin. The ending that pained me the most of all of Phase 4 was Loki. The multiverse setting was a perfect fit for the character, but even if the emotion effectively countering the destructive nature of Loki. 5 wonderful episodes that narrative thoroughly interrogate Loki as he unraveled the team again, learning from the process what it truly means to love oneself. And then, the final episode immediately focused on the introduction of Kate McCullough, the history of behind the TVA, and delayed any and all resolution between our Loki's 3-second season. Marvel, for the most part, have been good at organically setting up its future characters and storylines. That's what the post-credit teases are for. But here is a story stopping it dead in its tracks to set up an antagonist for a completely single film. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Knew I should have packed my anti-goblin
Or as I
arrows.
like to call it, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Can you and the other Avengers track him down? I gotta do dishes, homework, explain to my girlfriend why I am
They all
always
seem to
leaving
be
her
in
waiting
their
at
own
coffee
lane,
places.
meaning these
My
stories
life is
must
really
be
hard.
satisfying on their own. The stories Marvel told in Phase 4 have been fun, entertaining, and often exhilarating, but few of them have been truly satisfying, which becomes a real issue when it comes to their frequency.
Hey,
Marvel projects has always been a contentious topic, and over the last 2
Tell me
years,
you got the brick.
most people have found their break.
Sorry, sir. The Green Goblin
I
got
think I
away.
speak for everyone.
Cold.
I say
I know,
this
sir.
is too
Clean
much.
up at Oscorp.
It isn't healthy to absorb this much content.
Tell me you found something.
Disney has always structured their releases so as to be the main studio audiences
I've gone through
want
some of
to
my
when they go
space
to the
data about
movies
that
or watch
Silver
television.
Doctor
But now
Doom.
it seems
was
they're trying to
really
achieve
powerful
this with the
costume.
MCU alone.
I was afraid of that.
They've actually reached a point where the hype
And I've
machines seem
tracked
to
the
be
Silver
overlapping
Surfer's
and
power
cannibalizing
signature
each
from
other.
that mystery
Loki took a lot of
Looks
attention
like
away
they
from Black
landed
Widow's
in
release.
Latveria.
Multiverse of Madness overshadowed the
That
Moon Knight
there,
finale,
that
and No Way
means
Home hype
Dr. Doom.
completely drowned out
Sir,
discussions
we have a
for
break-in at the
Eternals and
Rack.
Hawkeye.
Iron Man, Hulk,
This has
you're
reflected itself in the box
Okay,
office,
sir,
where many of
we'll
these
get right
projects
on
are
it.
performing far below the Marvel average. Obviously, the blip hurt everything, but other studios have mostly recovered to pre-blip attendance numbers. And No Way Home shows us that MCU event films are stronger than ever. The Disney Plus shows have also steadily declined in ratings as they've continued to come out. During the Infinity Saga, the MCU was always able to grow its audience with each subsequent release. Not every movie would break records like the Avengers films, but you could be certain that they would grow their audience with each phase. The fact that this isn't carrying over to the television side is at the very least concerning. The more that the MCU puts out, the less
Why
likely
would
it
someone
is for
break
each
into the
film
Rack?
project to make it
You better check it out
as the
ASAP.
shows and films are released concurrently, oftentimes within days or even hours of each other, their
Oh,
opportunity to be discussed diminishes. Without that discussion, these projects stop being stories that impact culture and instead become content. A momentary distraction before pressuring the audience along with the next distraction. Marvel in the past changed the game to better their odds, but the work to adapt to the new game has hurt their individual projects. The MCU has become another casualty in the streaming wars, a weapon used to get as much content on these platforms as possible so as to be more lucrative than their competition. It seems like the MCU has a lot of issues right now. One issue they don't have is a lack of greatness. Great power brings great responsibility. Some of my favorite MCU moments
Great, the
have
ferry's
been
out of
phase
commission,
one,
and you
including
exceed the
Rogue's
weight limit
Wanda
for me to
and
fly
Vision,
you over there.
all the wonderful variant Loki's reactions to how Wenwu and John Walker
And there's
were
that.
antagonists,
Maybe we can
and it
fix
was
this
really
old boat
nice to
up.
see Sam Raimi bring back his chaotic horror energy. If I had to pick a favorite element, that bus scene from Shang-Chi might just be the best fight scene in the entire MCU. And while many
Nice
Phase 4
work.
projects
You
miss their
fixed
work,
the ferry.
it's
My
undeniable that No Way
family-friendly
Home was a
Rikers Island ferry
smash
tour is
success.
back in
Where the
business.
spin-offs have
You
struggled,
want to
No
ride,
Way
though?
Home
You're gonna
excelled,
need to show me a ticket.
reaffirming that Marvel
Rules
is at its
is
best
rules.
when it brings its heroes together.
Smash, puny ticket man!
But these pros have
Hey,
been countered by the
save
mounting
those Hulk
disappointments
smashes for the
in
bad
each
guys,
story.
alright?
Not
Let's
the
just get
anti-climactic
ourselves a
products
ticket.
throughout, but also their over-reliance on comic relief, the subpar color grading and compositing, and the complete lack of an overall direction or connecting theme. The pros become less exciting when other Marvel films or blockbusters do them better, and the cons begin to compound as their persistent frequency makes them way more noticeable. Phase 1 wasn't perfect, but due to Marvel's planning and patience, it was greater than the sum of its parts. And Phase 4 is a collection
Got
of
your ticket?
disconnected,
Then hop aboard,
entertaining,
friend.
yet
Next stop,
frustrating
Grizzly.
parts. In conclusion, go watch Moneyball. It's a very good movie.
And if you look to your left, you'll see the fabulous X Mansion. While on the right,
Well, that was an
Hulk needs bathroom.
I don't think I'll be
Really?
covering an entire
You couldn't
phase
have
of Marvel
gone
projects
before we
anytime
left?
soon. But of course, I'm always down to cover Marvel, and if you want to see those videos, make sure to subscribe and check out my Marvel videos right here. Also, if you want to keep the Shroud of Turin
It's baffled scientists, fueled religious enthusiasm, and generally caused a ruckus for literal centuries. Christians have long held that it's the burial plot of Jesus. But the Catholic Church hasn't officially declared it authentic, and yet scientists haven't been able to explain or recreate its strange features. But with 21st century technology, it should be case closed by now. If it's a fake...
El Quietor on the Creek. I still promise.
The Brisbane Broncos have suffered a truly
disastrous
campaign, stunning the rugby league world by missing out on the top 8 just one season after capturing the premiership. It is a spectacular fall from grace for the defending champions.
Located off
Losing a
Manhattan's
powerhouse
East Coast,
enforcer
the
alongside a
highest security
reliable
area
outside
of
back
Rikers
left
Island
massive
Maximum
shoes to
Security
fill, while the
Penitentiary
retirement of
is
their
known as
veteran
the
general
Raft.
stripped the squad
Looking
of
for
its
the worst
structural
of the worst
composure
in
and tactical
supervillainy?
kicking anchor in
You'll
the
find them
halves.
here.
But make no mistake, this is still a top 4 side on paper given the sheer talent assembled for next year. The roster possesses genuine star power, incredible athletic depth, and an influx of outstanding reinforcements to bolster the
My
Packers'
sensors
backline.
are detecting movement on the
Before
other
we
side of this
proceed to
wall.
the Brisbane Broncos confirmed 2027 lineup, smash the like button for your team if you're a proud of the ball screen, Bronx Nation for life. At fullback,
Wolverine. Oh, damn.
He's on a 4-year contract extension running until the end of 2029 at $800,000 a year.
Hulk,
He
drop!
has that rare, freaky
should know
speed
by
and crazy
now
ball
he's one
playing
of the
skill
good
that can
guys.
completely tear a
Even if he
defensive
doesn't
line to
smell
shreds. For the Broncos to really turn things
Shouldn't
around
you be in Canada
he just
uncovering
needs
your
to cut back
past
on
or
the
something?
sloppy errors,
Truck
organize the
Sabretooth
back line,
here.
and turn all that
Chuck
raw
says
talent
Doom's
into
got the
wins.
Brotherhood
At
of
winger
Mutants
is
helping
Dean
him out.
Mariner.
Doing
He is
what?
locked in on a deal that secures him through the 2027 season. He is easily one of the fastest blokes in the whole comp, possesses incredible acceleration, and knows exactly how to find the try line. He is going to help rebuild his club by getting up serious beaters out of his own half and finishing off those tight scoring chances under heavy pressure. At centre is Courtney Staggs. He is committed on a contract extension until the end of 2028.
Tony Staggs, like
He
Tony
is an
Staggs.
absolute powerhouse of a centre who brings brutal edge defense and can break tackles at will. His veteran presence and aggressive running style solidify the edge defense, while his knack for creating something out of nothing gives the team a serious strike weapon. At centre is Dane Gagai. He is heading back to Red Hill on a 1-year contract specifically for the 2027 season. He is a seasoned veteran brought in to mentor and guide the younger blokes in the squad. His talent and running with big match experience and going to bring a really winning culture to this young backline, providing the cool head needed to win tight footy games.
Let's go, Tin Man.
At winger is
Sabretooth
Josiah
said leads
Karamani.
this way.
He is maintaining a contract
Question.
that runs until
Why
the
would
end of
Doom team up
2027.
with Magneto?
He is a young, powerful outside back who loves a tough carry and works his backside off. He is going to help resurrect his side by bringing heaps
Should've
of
brought an
youthful
umbrella,
energy and
bub.
fearlessness to the wing, bending the
I wonder
defensive
how I'm
line
gonna do
with
this.
late kickings to take the pressure off his forwards. At 5'8" is Ezra Mann. He's locked in for multi-year until the end of 24 energy and fearlessness to the wing, bending the defensive line and fellow play to take the pressure off his forwards. At 5'8" is Ezra Mann. He is locked in for a multi-year deal until the end of 2029, $750,000 a year. He is an incredibly instinctive, dynamic playmaker with a lethal step and brilliant support play.
Nothing else around for you to throw?
Means his
Try
main
ripping
job
up the
in
crowd.
2027 is getting back to that mystery grand final form to keep defensive lines guessing. At halfback is Jonah Peasant. He is secured with a 3-year contract running from 2027 until the end of 2029, which is a tactical masterstroke. He is a smart, strategic young half with great vision and a really structured kicking game. Stepping into the shoes of retired playmakers, he brings the exact organisation the club has been starved for, steering the ship so the outside backs will be dead. At fourth is Mitch Barner. He is secured with a 3-year contract that takes him to the end of 2029. He is a fierce, uncompromising front rower who leads by example with heavy contact and an engine that does not stop. He fixes the club's defense problem instantly, landing within the foundation so the team stops getting bullied in the middle. At hooker is Billy Walters. He is signed to a contract extension that runs until the end of 2028. He He is a resilient dummy half with reliable service, rock-solid goal line defense, and smart running instincts. Starting in the number 9 shirt, his job is to give crisp service to the new halves pairing. His defensive grit and experience in the middle are going to keep the whole spine connected. At prop is Xavier Pulisic. He is retained on a contract extending through the end of 2027. He is a towering, solid front row, is incredibly athletic, has a great offload, and has remarkably quick feet for a big man. Starting in the front row, he has resurrected the club by bringing serious size, denting defensive lines, and getting quick play the ball to the playmakers. At second rower is Brendan Piakura. He is holding a contract valid until the end of 2027. He is an incredibly skilled edge forward, a sharp
some
line
kind
running
of weapon
ability,
or sharp
and aggressive
object to
string
trigger it.
defense. To really help the team elevate, he just needs to string a healthy run of games together. His ability to hit holes on the left edge will create massive space for his outside backs. At second rower is Jordan Riki. He is locked in on an extended contract until the end of 2028. He is a tireless back rower, famous for his massive work rate, elite kick pressure, and non-stop defensive efforts. He rebuilds the club's identity through pure heart and hustle, chasing down everything and locking up the edge defense to cause critical errors from the opposition. At lock is Patrick Carrigan. He is secured on a long-term contract extending through 2028, earning $750,000 a year. He is the absolute heart and soul of the engine, giving the team. At lock is Patrick Carrigan. He is secured on a long-term contract extending through 2028, earning $750,000 a year.
I
He
thought
is the
Billy Walters
absolute
was
heart
all
and soul of the engine, giving the team elite ball playing skills, massive tackle counts, and inspiring leadership.
Nice.
We play
I think we tripped the alarm or something.
on a contract extended block, compromising front row, leads by example, giving contact and making that does not stop. He fixes the club's toughest problem instantly, laying a physical foundation so the team stops getting in the middle. And hooker is Billy Walters. He is signed to a contract extension. He will spearhead the 2027 resurrection by setting the ultimate standard. At utility is Ben Hunter. He is re-signed on a one-year deal covering the 2027 season. He is a veteran elite playmaker who can plug into the halfback or 5'8" and do a brilliant job anywhere. He is the ultimate chess piece off the bench, using his wealth of experience to steady the ship and take the tactical pressure from the young starting halves when the heat is on. At interchange second rower is Sean Law. He is signed to a 2-year contract, keeping him with the club until the end of 2028. He is a high-winning forward who thrives on winning individual collisions and running tough lines. Bringing that clinical Melbourne system mentality, his versatility off the bench keeps the intensity sky high. At the bottom is Benjamin Takeover. He is held on a contract extension running until the end of 2027. He is an absolute giant who stands well over 2 meters tall, causing utter chaos with his size. He is going to resurrect the by acting as a human wrecking ball, skewering tired defensive lines midway through halves to generate instant forward momentum. At bench 4 is Aldous Tafar. He is retained on a contract that runs until the end of 2027. A mobile, developing forward with great agility and relentless defensive
Got
mindset.
it. Let's get inside.
Off the interchange, he gives the team a real change of pace in the middle. He helps the Ravens by locking things down defensively, shutting down the flows, making sure there is no drawing intensity. At interchange forward is Ben Talty. He's secured under a contract running through 2027. He's an edge forward with a great fundamental skill set and sound defensive position. Providing solid backup on the bench, his mistake-free style keeps the team steady, making him the perfect shooting mercy against injuries. At interchange winger is Philip Coates. He is locked down for contract running until the end of 2027. A tall, athletic outside back who is lethal under the high ball and hits on tough yardage sets. Holding down the extended bench squad, his presence keeps everyone on their toes. He provides elite depth, ready to bring safe aerial speeds, reliable finishing the second he is called up. At reserve hooker is Corey Pay. He is signed to an extended contract at the end of 2028. The quick dummy half with an accurate passing game anchors the depth chart by keeping the pressure on the starting spots.
That's Troy Jensen.
The team has a high pool of backups ready to go in case of the spot.
Looks like the party's in full swing.
Is Blake Moss.
Is that the leader?
He's retained on a contract running until the end of 2027. A highly touted
That's the Mega Man.
who represents the long-term future of the club's squad. Having been developing in the reserves gives the club's pathway free to keep performing. At reserve fullback is Hayes Burren. His side to extended until the end of 2027. A versatile utility back who can comfortably cover fullback, centre and the half. He acts as a great safety net for the roster, making sure a sudden backline injury does not derail the team to competition. At reserve second rower is Preston Reed. He is locked into a multi-year deal until the end of 2028. A physical edge forward with a high energy work rate. He builds real resilience in the sport by fighting hard for deep spots, keeping training standards intense and making sure the forward depth is battle ready. At reserve prop is Banner Sadie. He is locked down on an extended contract until the end of 2028. A young, developing front rower built for rugged midfielders. He named the resurrection by expanding the engine of depth, ensuring coachment right, a steady pipeline of ready to bust in the line. At reserve halfback is Tom Douglas. Extended contract until 2028. Steady playmaking and maturity he can gain beyond his years. Starting goes down and reserve its halfback is intermediate forward. He's locked into a long-term pathway near Pickens until the end of the young prospect with raw athletic talent and great natural speed, as well as to bide his time to develop in the background, providing long-term roster security and future try-scoring power for the club. The Broncos will sign 4 more players to complete their very big roster, so please let me know in the comments if you would like to see the club sign for the 2027 season. Stay updated with all your rugby league content on YouTube by smashing the like button and subscribing to the channel for more of your daily dose of rugby league. Thank you.
What? What? Oh, quiet down. It's not time to get up here.
Hi, Mary Boston. Avengers Endgame celebrated
This might require some extra muscle power.
Ticket sales with a new special look that's somehow revealed Yeah, I don't. The directors warned us that this promo footage would be CGI trickery to keep us guessing. So as I break down this trailer grain by grain, wrong people they might miss, I'm gonna be alert that something might be faked. I'm not fooling a Cisco Russo. Let's get started.
If we do this, we'd be going in short-handed. Yeah, because he killed all our friends.
We owe this to everyone who's not in this room.
Okay, this trailer opens with an exterior shot of Portland's HQ. This is the same gate that Scott Lang showed at. Footage, the first in-game trailer. This could be that moment he arrives, having recently escaped from the hotel. Somehow, hey, let's not forget that footage was the old archive. Inside, Bruce Banner and the other fate that Thanos after the snap. It suggests that the first act in-game could feature some Russian payback attempt by the Avengers that could actually make their situation a lot worse. Another failure to further humiliate them. By going in short-handed, Banner could be implying that in addition to half their fighters, he's also still experiencing Hulk performance. Bringing up the question, will Hulk come back? He'd be a semi-intelligent Professor Hulk. Let me know in the comments below what you think the trigger moment will be. Meanwhile, Hulk pops up with a bowl of what looks like Taste Away to be home and a can of beer. So just answer that bad boy. And you can see it's a clean up from the creature.
Here we go. This machine could locate Sabretooth for us.
Pinewood Studios lot where these movies are filmed. I imagine a lot of the actors probably will like drinking from this local food. I just hope this whole South Best ends with Thor shotgunning the beer, crushing it, and shouting another.
There's also a shot of Natasha opening in the rain, and judging from the official Black Widow hair clock, it's looking mostly red. Blonde being flushed out of the tips, suggesting that this is after other events when her hair is shorter and longer, meaning this movie could be after some early loss. And our other hair clock is the rug on Cap's face, and in the shot of him in the mirror, he appears to just shaved the rug, meaning that this could be even earlier before summer activation. Let's move on.
Get out of here! Ah!
Now we know which floor he's on. Jarvis, can you hack into the elevator controls? We need to get there right now.
Yes, sir. Connecting to elevator controls. Holding Nebula's hand, showing little days and just a shot of her looking Tony. This could be the and then Tony and Nebula pretend to her. It could be when Cat, Natasha, Banner, and Ruby
made it just in time for the big escape.
Eventually, character just Karen Gillan hinted months ago that she would have a new BFF. Natasha, Banner, and Brody initially removed. Character we're looking
Supervillains everywhere.
Supervillains? Meet my super suit.
That she would have a new BFF in
Yes,
the game.
that's
And it looks
super.
like Rocket is her new
Requires
shoulder.
some tailoring.
Especially sad when you consider that this is moment when the two surviving Guardians of the Galaxy learn about the casualties of Earth. And like Nebula is realizing Groot is dusted, and
Is it me, or did it just get drafty in
and
here?
Drax are all gone. These two aren't really known for physical affection, but Rocket's heartbreak leads him to reach out personally. Drax reached out to swap in at the end of this Guardians. Then there's a shot of Ant-Man in his own arm created by armor. Sticker,
Finally.
and its shoulder
Come at me,
arms and
bub.
legs are gold colored, similar to Iron Man's throwback classic armor in Silver Age comics. But I'm curious about
Magneto.
Iron Man is flying maybe change like the Battle of New York, reverse the Winter's movie. So we could be seeing Stark reliving his moment with Selvig and Loki at the time of Avengers Tower in that battle.
Looks like we gotta throw something heavy at Sabretooth to take him out.
In the time loop established by Doctor Strange, one that will require them to lose up to 14 million times until they figure out the one sequence of history in which they beat Thanos. This could justify the movie's 3 hour time and so many generations of people. So, doesn't feel shocking like with the sleeve tattoo, let's leave this time. You can still have to make out a sleeve. Japanese warrior. The skull is that's how he's dead inside. Perhaps we're seeing his party of but it's what in general has always been from other scenes. It's not especially weird. That's because his Fear the Avengers is actually the exact audio of his line in Avengers Age of Ultron. This was an especially significant moment to come back to. Plus, listen to the full clip. David, you watched the first original movie, baby. Now figure this. That's right, this was the first time when Endgame came on. Stark warned about cosmic threats like Thanos. Also, something that the German version of this trailer features Tony saying at the behind the scene, I told you we would lose, but you said you could do that to him. Which would also be an actually final exchange of the same scene in Now, I know most admitted the audio as well as for the trailers, but I have a feeling this Age of Ultron coincidence. But I will also take it forward that there's a shot of Natasha, followed by a new angle of Blue or something for River passing the Ocean Captain Photo, doesn't keep and then a solemn group shot of Survivors Avengers HQ. burn it all together. Guy, Rookie, Smart, Cap, Nebula, Rocket, Scotland, and Natasha. But I gotta say, this shot just looks really cool to me. Everyone standing, facing the same direction, the same bland look on their faces, like they're goddamn Backstreet Boys. Now, sure, they could be facing other characters not in the same way, like Thor and Captain Marvel. Say on the other side of the maybe Thor, maybe this is from the end of the movie, and maybe Dustin or maybe the timeline. Like, notice how Natasha is holding her shoulder, like she's holding her movie for her fight. But yeah, my instinct is telling me that this will wind up with just being the endgame equivalent of that whole jog in the trailer that ended up not being in the movie. But let's go to the next clip. Trust me.
Where did that bring you?
Jasmine here. Starter and Cap appear to be in New York, maybe even the Battle of It. You can see emergency lights in the background. And as we just did, you see these characters finally shake hands and take up. Something definitely seems off about it. It's dark blue an Infinity War, which would be a little odd because in other shots, Cap wears his Winter Soldier stealth suit, also another suit that looks a bit new, maybe a bit retro.
Come on, you big green gorilla.
Handshake could be different. But I think we're just seeing a different Cap. This could be some of that CGI trickery that the Russos were talking about. See, it's scales are kind of different. The surfaces are smoother, the rubbery, scrappy. Feature very good. 80 VFX artists, leading warriors, house. And if we are taking a timeline, then let's start with be talking to another Avatar.
Nothing can stop us now.
New York Stark will be trying to convince him to trust this much more Tony Stark. Also,
I can't see. Shining those searchlights in Abomination's face might give us the upper hand.
This whole theory shot. So then it's hard to lean into like TV. They can barely make out a few people they're talking out of the guys who just need to finally figure out how to jumpstart the Benatar, which that looks a lot like Korran, the abandoned planet in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Planet was a resting place in before containing the Power Stone before Peter Quill removed it. So, in the same way that the Strike Avengers would revisit the events of the first Avengers movie to retrieve those Infinity Stones, they might do the same with the events of Guardians of the Galaxy in the past Marvel films that featured this film. Now, they shot the Benatar this with a different shot of the same ship featuring Rocket and Captain Marvel, pilot seats, Cap, Thor, Rhodey, and Natasha. I think Nebula might be somewhere back there too. But given her hair clock, Black Widow still has a short line, suggesting that this will take place shortly after the events of the snap, after they come up with Captain Marvel. So I noticed how Banner and Tony suggesting that this might be a hazard to solve that the potential Avengers might prefer to sit in. It's not super we're having to maybe he's like Drax. I actually think that this is the mission that Captain Natasha will embark on. The first in-game character, desperate one that's Steve. And we see possible execution of that mission here with a shot of Thanos' ship, the Sanctuary 2, surrounded by various Q ships. Notice the red lights. They recreate the same red lights that lit the tunnel that Hawkeye appeared in the last trailer, one that we realized recently was filled with Outriders. Assuming that some of the Avengers do try to strike back against Thanos in the first act, I'm really confident about all of them going back alive, especially Captain Marvel. We've seen her alive in Avengers HQ, and we're trying to get this shit the early loss of the Avengers' biggest ace in the world, their rock even more, and make their eventual run that much more earned. There's also a shot of Stark looking at this photo of him and Peter Parker. It looks like they're really industries, maybe they're not Stark and they and Peter Long, there's one straight there. Similar to his penthouse, tower, also a shirt. It's like his black satin shirt. Very nice confrontation with Loki. Yeah, should they? Another interesting that foreshadows. Yeah, sure.
So enough, just ignore honestly very tough lines.
Single location where we see them in this and it looks a lot like the pattern of the old Thanos' Sanctuary 2, which we saw in that scene between Thanos and Gamora. Here, Rocket looks pretty similar. And let's the sparks look past him. Like I'm wondering if he's witnessing the fire of death of his companions. Thanos for a different reason. His origin is still very much a mystery. His biodata in Guardians Volume 1 listed his home planet as Apple, but he was cybernetically engineered by some brutal scientists who have never established one theory that is that it could have been Thanos and Rocket. I could be why Rocket chose to go with Thor. Don't forget his non-kill weapon. Instead, it makes Thanos right. In a deleted scene sent Thanos' throne, Thanos uses the reinforcement projected memory, which the Borg served as the royal chief of Thanos, and he trades the second next, there's this shot of Cat struggling around with his classic shield. He's being right here. He's taking a strap that we see with another shot. Now, for all this footage, the voice of Thanos rings out onto the ceiling.
No, it's a blue button.
So it has a collector. And we finally see the Mad Titan here. But there are two interesting details about the shot. First, he's back in his armor. Remember, Thanos removed that armor at the beginning of Infinity War. But once he acquired the Time Stone and the Space Stone, the Time Stone is more of a spiritual quest for him than one that he needed physically fight for. Seeing him back in his armor now suggests that he feels threatened, that he's afraid of getting hurt, that he's worried that he has something to do with it. But there's a clue that he has the whole time. With Space Stone, Thanos goes to the wormhole in space. It's almost perfect, but it's different. Now, some are describing this as the Bifrost that Thor uses, but I don't think this is the Bifrost. The Bifrost is a rainbow vehicle. This game is pure blue. Actually, this is exactly how we see the Black Widow relationship. Thanos has to do this, along with its need to wear armor, suggests that the Avengers have need something like getting at least some stones with them. Then we see Stark in his Iron Man armor on as we see Rebel in the same battlefield as one of his Captain America's fighting. Trailer's money-shot joins it at Thor. Rebel Trinity can march upon Thanos. You can see him sitting in the background. He has to get some room for as he waited for Thanos to come sitting beside Thanos is his own weapon, double-sided sword. The universe is a part of this that releases. Where is this battle taking place? The rubble looks like some construction scaffolding, meaning this is probably somewhere on Earth. And it looks like there will be one battle scene set at Avengers HQ, suggesting that Thanos could attack the facility as the Avengers start to make progress against him. But another theory that a lot of you have brought up to me is that if we are looking at a replay of the Battle of New York on Medlin, this Medlin could be
another supervillain sense
in
here.
which that
Mandarin,
that was fired at the city, rather than being carried up to the wormhole by Iron Man and thrown into Chitauri, could instead detonate over New York and reduce the city to and if you're looking for a high-stakes backdrop for the Avengers' final confrontation with Thanos, the ashes of New York City is a pretty bleak option. Then again, folks, all of this footage is rumored to just be from the first act of the movie, and the Russos might have just CGI'd all of it to screw with us. So comment down below with your favorite moment from this trailer. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at EA Loss. Hey,